Welcome to Tea with Tanya. I'm your host, Tanya Ambrose, an average millennial navigating life as a maternal health professional, nonprofit founder, and grad student. Join me in the tea tasting room where we spill the tea on finding balance and promoting positive living while doing it all. Hey friend, welcome to another episode of Tea with Tanya. Thank you for joining me here in the tea tasting room. I hope you would have done something good for yourself since the last time we met here. You know, we're all about self-love, self-care, taking care of ourselves, being intentional with on this journey to becoming the best versions of ourselves. I hope you would have done something good, something nice for yourself, whether that could be binge watching a TV show, just sitting and reading a book, whatever it is that would have brought you some sort of peace and joy. I hope you would have done that from the last time we met here in the tea tasting room. Before we get into today's episode, I do want to share the tea of the week. Well, let me just give you a little bit of tea life of tea or tea life, whatever it is with Tanya. It's been about, I want to say, at least 3 weeks now since I've been in school. You know, I'm in grad school getting my master's degree in public health. And it's been about 3 weeks. And let me tell you, it's been a bit rough. It pains me to say that. But one thing about growth in life is acknowledging and accepting where you are and what things are in your life. And it's been a bit rough, but it's been rough for your girl, but I'm doing the very best that I can. I will tell you this. I am doing the very best that I can. And I am proud of myself because I am getting a tad bit better with my time management. Can I do better? Of course. I'm sure if you're listening, you're thinking you can do better with your time management because it just doesn't seem like we have enough time in the day. But I'm getting better with my time management. It's not easy being a full-time employee, a nonprofit founder, a grad student, and even a podcast host. Sometimes I don't know what I've gotten myself into. But I will say the one thing is that when you are dedicated and you're committed to your passion, to your goals, you find a way to make it happen. And that's what drives me in a sense, the thinking about what the end result is going to be, however long it's going to take to get to that end result. That's what keeps me going. So no matter how tired I may be from working, from school, from being a founder, making sure things are running smoothly within my organization. Because again, I'm going to school. I want to better myself, to get this degree, to get these 3 letters behind my name. Just going to keep it real. But also that I can better myself and get more knowledge when it comes to advancing and improving my nonprofit and the work that we do in society. So everything has a purpose. It's all coming together. So that's definitely what's been going on the last 3 weeks here since we've been back with the new season of Tea with Tanya. One thing I will say, I always get asked, how do I make it work? Or girl, you got so much going on. What are you doing? I don't know how you manage. Teach me your ways. There's no ways here for me to teach. It's just being consistent, keeping your eyes on the prize, knowing what you want, and making the time to do what you love. There's always a phrase saying people are going to make time for who they love and all these different things. But that's what I do when it comes to my passion. And in the midst of all of this, I am making sure that I'm putting aside time to rest. Because one thing I will do is sit down, watch me a TV show or a movie or listen to a book. Because that's all the time I have right now. I cannot physically sit and read a book. The only physical books I'm reading are my class books. So I've been into a lot of audiobooks of late because that's all the time I have. So that's the question I usually get asked. And it's just, when it comes to, again, managing your time, being committed, being dedicated to your passion and what you love. And then also a big thing for me is having the support of friends and family. That's really big for me. And that's how I ultimately get things done. Granted, I living alone, have all these things going on, but just having the support of friends that I can pick up the phone and call when I'm having an overwhelming day, that they can either make me laugh or show some sort of support when I feel like I'm losing my way, not realizing what the end goal is at the point in time. They'll just redirect me. So it just comes down to having a support system. It doesn't matter because my support system are very far. Some are near and some are very far. I'm sure you can relate to the long distance relationships that you have in your life. So that's what it is, just having that support of friends and family, to be quite honest. And it's why also I'm excited for today's episode, as I'm recording today's episode with someone who's deeply in my circle, someone that I respect and someone that I can also count on to hold me accountable. So that's why I'm excited for today's episode. She's always a good guest. You guys seem to love her here in the tea tasting room when she comes around. So I'm definitely looking forward to talking with her. But before we get into it, let's get into today's tea. Let's see what we got, what we're sipping on today. Today we are having some caramel chai tea. And I love this because, we are a few days away from the start of fall. So I'm all about that cozy feeling. And I'll keep it real. I was never really into fall because fall automatically meant or means cold to me. Honestly, I'm an island girl. I'm an island gal. Like the heat me, give me the heat, let me melt. And I say that now, but the last several weeks here has been ridiculously hot. Like we're in the hundreds. It's just ridiculously hot. Like it's legitimately, you walk outside, you can melt. I'm sweating in my head. It's just a hot mess from the house to the car, how hot it can get and how quickly or how fast you can sweat. But recently, I have some friends who are obsessed with fall. They're all about fall, this fall at the pumpkin spice this and all these different things. And something like when you say you have baby fever. So I think I'm having fall fever. So I'm talking about fall fever to the point where I'm trying different teas, or I am legitimately now becoming that adult, that girl, that young woman here who's actually decorating for the fall season. That's how much I'm trying to get into it this time around, because the friends that I've created recently, they're all about that. So I'm trying, trying to fit in a sense where let me give it a chance. Let me make it cool to actually enjoy fall. And because it's just been so hot, I'm just ready for some sort of cool front to come on in. So that's what I'm doing. So today we're drinking caramel chai tea because you get that little cozy feeling when you're sitting in your home, getting ready to wind down. So that's what we're having today, and it's from this brand that's called Tea Curry. When you think about the caramel chai tea, this tea combines the brisk of sweetness of caramel, making this the perfect cup of tea for an indulgent evening. Their natural caramel flavor is vegan friendly. So if you're listening to this podcast and you're vegan, and it doesn't contain dairy as well. So if you listen to the podcast, you're vegan or you're not someone who can consume dairy, this tea will be perfect for you. And it's also a quick replacement to high calorie drinks. So you can never go wrong with that, especially if you're trying to watch your calorie intake as well. And it's best served when it's hot. It is just overly delicious. Like it is just so tasty. It doesn't get better than that. It's hardy. The hardy black tea is fully oxidized. It's made of fully oxidized leaf. It's rich in flavor and antioxidants. So this tea produces a lovely sweet taste in your mouth. You can salivate and feel that sweet not chocolate, but that sweet caramel tea in your mouth. So definitely you want to do that. The flavor is sweet and toasty with a hint of buttery undertones. Does not get better than that. And I'm going to give you some benefits of any tea that I drink. I'm going to give you some benefits. So the benefits of this caramel chai tea is that it boosts digestion. And that's big for me because in the previous season, I've talked about my digestive system, trying to be intentional with what I'm doing to make sure that this system is working at its full capacity. So it boosts digestion. The spices used in chai, such as ginger and cinnamon, are believed to aid in digestion by reducing inflammation in the gut and promoting healthy digestion. And we all know our gut health is important because gut health is linked to so many different things as it relates to our health and wellness. It also provides antioxidants. The black tea, which is used as the base for chai, contains antioxidants called polyphenols that can help protect the body against free radical damage and lower the risk of chronic diseases. It also promotes relaxation. I love me a good tea that's going to calm me down because the way how my brain runs, I definitely need that. So it promotes relaxation. Chai is often enjoyed as a relaxing beverage as it can help soothe the mind and promote feelings of calmness and relaxation. So it doesn't get better than that. It also boosts energy. So chai contains caffeine from the black tea, which can help provide a boost of energy and mental alertness, which is what I need because with all what I have going on, I need it. And I'm sure you can relate as well to all you have going on. You may need to have that boost of energy and that mental alertness. It reduces inflammation and it also supports your heart health. The antioxidants in the black tea may help to reduce the risk of heart disease by improving your cholesterol levels, reducing blood pressure, and improving blood vessel function, which we all need. So that's the tea. That's today's tea, that caramel chai tea. If you decide to try it, let me know. This particular brand is called Tea Curry. It is so good. So definitely let me know if you try that or a variation of that. And send me an email, send me a message in the DM or tag me on Instagram. Let me know that you're actually giving that tea a try. All right, so let's get into today's tea. I am joined by my favorite person here in the tea tasting room, my very good friend, Miss Michele. I always look forward to talking to her because it's always a great conversation. She is very popular here in the tea tasting room whenever she comes on to the podcast. The podcast not only does really well, but she brings the tea, she brings the spice, she brings it all. And today we're diving into a topic that's close to many of our hearts, and that is talking about intentional friendships because, these are relationships that we try to put effort into and we cherish, and the connections, they really, improve or make a positive impact on our lives. So definitely grab your tea or your favorite beverage, whatever you're drinking, and get settled in as we get ready to talk about all things intentional friendships. So hello there, Michele. How are you today?
Hi guys, hi everyone, hi the tea tasters. I am doing well, could be better, but I am here surviving. How are you?
I am good. I feel like we're recording this episode in the middle of a thunderstorm, which is crazy. But I'm doing good. I'm happy to have you. Happy to see your beautiful face. You know how it is over here.
Oh, happy to see you too, lovey.
So let's get into today's episode. We're talking about intentional friendship. And guys, let me just say, last time Michele was on here, I forgot, we spoke about so many different things, but one of the first episodes we recorded was talking about not every friendship will last. And I think that's today one of the most popular episodes here on Tea with Tanya. And it's amazing. She did drop some gems, but it's amazing how a couple of years can change your outlook when it comes to different types of relationships. And it's why we're talking about intentional friendships because that is very important to me. And I know it's also important to Michele as well. And I think for me, when we're thinking about intentional friendships, I think these are friendships that it goes beyond the surface level. Because I feel like friends, the term friends or the word friends, a lot of us use very loosely. I'm sure Michele can agree. We tend to use it because for me, I'm not gonna say, "Oh, my acquaintance." It be sounding really, really weird when I have to say that. And I think when
Yeah.
we're talking about intentional friendship, we're talking about going below or beneath the surface level, and these are the ones that we actively, essentially, try to not only nurture but we invest in. We have a mutual respect, open communication, and then eventually over a period of time, we may end up having shared experiences. And as Michele will tell you, it's not about the number of friends you have, but the depth or the connection that you may end up cultivating or creating. So I think that's my definition in a sense of what it means about intentional friendship. I don't know. What about you? Tell them after what about you, Michele? What is your definition?
Well, I think for me, when I hear intentional friendship, I'm hearing the intention of that friendship, whether it be a positive one or a negative one. And it's similar along the lines to what you're saying is that basically I am choosing to engage in a friendship that actually has purpose.
Uh-huh.
It's very important for you in any relationship, including a friendship, to be intentional about it. And a lot of times we talk about we want to have intentional relationships with people.
Uh-huh.
It's the same meaning behind you just using relationship and you just adding or putting friendship. So that is my definition when it comes to intentional friendship. It's really that intention aspect of it and your me choosing to be very intentional about the relationship that I want us to cultivate or for us to have.
No, I agree, and I'll share this story again as to how Michele and I met. Because hopefully I don't change anything this time around. But we live in Antigua, a very small island, so of course many of us would know each other or know of each other. It's not impossible for someone not to know we were in similar circles, and I think we met one time at Atlanta Carnival, and then the vibe was just nice because Michele is the life of the party. Okay, like I come up with the party, but she is way ahead of me when it comes to being the life of any party. There's never any dull moment with her around. I can tell you that much.
This is
She
very true.
She's the life of the party, like way ahead of me. But I remember we just clicked and we just talked, and we ended up planning an event for a mutual friend, mutual individual,
Mm-hmm.
and we became we became close after that. But I think what I back then, when I'm thinking back now, I don't think it was a situation where I was trying to be an intentional friend to you. You know, she's shown up for
Okay.
me in many ways. You know, because you're not thinking, you just think, oh yeah, it's a friend, but where's the friendship gonna go? What are we doing? And
Yeah.
our friendship essentially is long distance, like many of our friendships. We don't. She lives in Trinidad. I'm all the way here in South Carolina. I can't
Yeah.
tell if I saw Michelle in person. That's sad.
That is sad.
Gotta fix
We need to
that.
change that. We need to change that.
That's the role of adulting and everyone living in different places. But when I think about intentional friendship now, we make it a mission for us to check in with each other. Like
Mm-hmm.
go through is not gonna go by. Again, we know we as we're getting old, I'm realizing that as friends with Michelle, but just in general, our lives are evolving. So the times when we're gonna be spending hours every single day
Yeah.
talking to a friend or texting a friend every single day,
Yeah.
it's impossible. I'm gonna say impossible because some have husbands and wives or children. We just got a lot
Children.
going on in our lives, and we can't always be talking every day. But the important thing is to make sure you set aside time to check in with your friends. Because let me tell you, Michelle and I, we don't talk every day, right? But when we talk, when we talk, you have to just clear the calendar because
Yeah.
our catch up conversation can
Ours.
be 4 hours, like 4 hours at a time, and
Yeah.
that's it's a quality that I admire because again we're able to respect, we're able to show up for each other, we're able to support each other in what we're doing. You know, you're a content creator, you're not going to be watching your YouTube like a little TV series and then I get upset when there's no more episodes after to watch like right now.
Oh,
But
oh wow, you are jabbing me on your podcast.
but nevertheless, we do try to check in and always sometimes just say a quick I love you or, you know, just a words of encouragement when she listens to a podcast episode because she knows the struggle behind me getting to this level of consistency. She's been on
Yeah.
tiny, tiny breaks. But again, when we're talking about being intentional, when you think about the types of friends that you have, some of us can get upset because, oh, this friend is not checking in on me. You can do the same too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or we also understand that we're all evolving and we have to keep learning someone as we change, you know.
Yeah. I think that that's very important because I feel like a lot of times we lose our friends because our friends may think that we do not have enough time for them. We do not communicate the way that we used to communicate. But as you get older, and if you're a young person listening to this, when you're in high school, you're in a high school with these people for 8 hours in a day. When you
Uh-huh.
get to college, it's the same thing. But you see, when you hit university and you hit adulting, you make new friends, you're around new people, unless you and your friends decide to all go to the same university, which 99% of the time is not gonna happen.
Uh-huh.
That is where it really puts a test on your relationship, and it puts a test on you even as a person as to how you communicate and how well you stay in contact or be intentional on continuing to cultivate a relationship with someone. And let alone you move in a whole new country and your friend is in another country. Very, very hard stuff. Very, very, very hard stuff.
Uh-huh.
So I think it's important to know that that's kind of how friendship works, because again, we're no longer in high school and we have 8 hours or 10 hours spending with our friends. We're literally apart doing separate things. And sometimes it's really hard to keep up with everything that's going on in your personal life or even in your work life or whatever is happening in your life in general, and then still have to be there or have a friend make it seem like it is a requirement in your friendship to be there or to be the one that's reaching out all the time, if I could say that. So that word intentional, it's very, very important because that's where the hard work really comes in if you want to continue to build a friendship with someone.
I know you say that's where the hard work comes in. So I want to talk about the qualities of intentional friendships, and I think you would have mentioned some as you were talking. Because now that we understand what intentional friendships are to an extent, you know,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about like defining the qualities. Because for us, like we say, is making sure we're checking in. But what are some qualities? you can think of when it comes to intent, having friends with intentions. Because again, we're evolving. People who we were once friends with in high school, we may not be friends with now. You just never know. But what are some qualities when you can think of when it comes to intentional friendships?
It's difficult, but I think it's important. Communication. I think
Uh-huh.
communication is one of the top qualities that you should have if you are, let's say, if we're speaking about intentional friendships, communication should be that top, and also understanding, because a lot of times those two things do not happen, and it leaves a gap in friendships, and it also leaves a weird energy or just a weird vibe in
Uh-huh.
the friendship, because a lot of times we don't communicate with our friends the way that we need to, especially when we have gotten into adulthood, because like you said, we have work, boyfriend, kids,
Uh-huh.
school. Some of us are only now checking into university, doing our masters. Like, there is so many different moving parts that's happening in your personal life. And sometimes I know I am like that, where when I get stuck in a phase of like, I need to focus on certain things, I will go MIA. Like, I will go missing on my friends. And so I think it's important to communicate and to speak to your friends so that they get an understanding of where you are going growth wise. I don't know if that answers the question. I'm going to have you speak about the other qualities, but of course, I think for me, to be honest, I think communication and understanding would be my two top qualities for intentional friendships.
No, I agree with you as well because you know my drama when it comes to friendships and the many ups and downs and how many times you had to tell me XYZ when it comes to even choosing my friends wisely.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now that I've grown, still growing, but I feel like compared to years ago versus now, that's what it comes down to is having an open and honest conversation or communication with your friends. Because I remember at one point feeling some type of way when one of my friends, we went from talking every single day, multiple times a day,
Mm-hmm.
to talking once or twice a day, to basically talking a week, once or twice a week. And I
Right.
remember in my feelings for whatever reason and not understanding that at that point in time, this particular friend was evolving into the next chapter of their life while I was still in my chapter. I didn't move on to that chapter yet. So I wasn't able
Mm-hmm.
to understand that the person was not going to have the same amount of time that I may have had. And I
Mm-hmm.
think what if I had to go back and do anything, I would have expressed how, my thoughts and feelings, how I felt about that, or
Mm-hmm.
not make it about me. Because sometimes I think we can make things about ourselves. Like you say,
Yeah.
you go MIA, but maybe that friend can check in. Oh, I haven't heard from her in 3 weeks. So what is so wrong in checking in to see why you haven't heard from said friend in 3 weeks? Because you know that said friend was the one that would do all the calling. So sometimes I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe that also sheds a light on the type of friend that the person is too. But it's
Mm-hmm.
learning to communicate your feelings, communicate what you have going on with your life. I'm busy. In my case, I'm working full time. I'm in school. I doubt I'm gonna have time to be on the phone for hours with any friends at this
With
point in
any
time. Unless
Yeah.
actually, of course, like you and I will pencil in a day.
Yeah.
Are you free this time? And then we know,
Yeah.
okay, this is going to be cleared on the calendar. Let me set aside this how many hours just to talk and catch up, and then we can release and move on to the
Yeah.
next. So I think that's the quality, the open communication, being able to, I guess trust your friend, not throwing things back in your friend's face either. When it comes to intentional friendship, we can be honest, we can be respectful, because sometimes the truth can hurt. We're not going to always want to hear certain things because I
Yeah.
don't always like what you be telling me sometimes. What is the truth? So 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 with that, but I take what you say, and I reflect and I analyze. But in the moment when you're telling me, I'd be like, okay, whatever,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you have my best interest at heart, or your friend should always have your best interest at heart. So I think I agree with you. It just comes down to having that open and honest conversation and making sure that
Conversation.
our core values in a sense align, because we're not going to be friends with somebody if we're not in alignment. That's another thing that I can speak to.
Yeah. And sometimes, sadly, friendships break up because you no longer align,
That
right?
part.
And a
Yeah.
lot of times even with intentional friendships, sometimes we're trying to make something intentional. We're
Mm.
trying our best for it to be intentional, but at sometimes it just doesn't work, because at that point, like you said, your friend was on a different wavelength. She was, let's say, maybe excelling more in her career and really focused, and you were not there yet, or you could not appreciate that stage of her life.
Yeah.
And so you could have been that friend that was like, okay, well, I'm done. Your energy, my energy, I'm going to match your energy, and not try to be there, or even still kind of stick around and just be available whenever that person is available, let's say. So I think it's a very hard thing dealing with friendship. A friendship relationship is very, very hard. To me, it's harder than being in a relationship with a male partner,
Mm.
because I find a lot of times we put a lot of pressure on our friends
Yes.
to be our end all be all, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes even trying to have open communication and open discussions leads to breakups, or it may lead to a weird energy between that friendship, because again, if you are on a particular level and the person is not on a particular level, let's say in their understanding of your situation, it's just not gonna you're not going to be able to meet the minds. Like the minds would not meet together, because that person would may think, oh, this person, because she's now doing her master, she thinks she's better than me, but she don't have
Mm-hmm.
any time for me. Or it can not always be how you intend it to be, or how you would want that friendship to be. It's hard.
It's trying, and I think this is even harder too, trying to figure out what level or where a friend would be in their growth as they're evolving. Because you could
Hmm.
be evolving. I'm not saying that. Oh, I'm looking at you or expecting you to be the same person you were a year ago, and that's
Yeah,
initially or evidently it's impossible for us all to even remain the same. If we remain the same, if we remain stagnant, then that says a lot. Something needs to be shifted in a bit, because no one should be the
yeah,
same how they were 3 months ago, a year
yeah,
ago. I think sometimes we have to learn how to just ask the question that what you got going on when the purpose of catching up with a friend is to see what's going on
yeah,
in that person. When we're talking about open communication, sometimes I've seen friendships where, granted, I'm not saying we got to share everything about our life
hmm,
to our friends. Some things must be sacred to you as well as an individual.
hmm,
I think the purpose of catching up with a friend that you want to be friends with this person, you want to make this friendship work. I think when, let's say, if I'm asking somebody, how are you? Tell me how you are. Don't give me the surface level answer. Sometimes I do that too.
yeah,
One, I'm not in the mood to talk about maybe what's essentially bothering me.
yeah,
Things take time, but I would hope that in cultivating their new friends or your friendship, trying to maintain them, we're able to be honest with each other. Because too many times, like you say, we're not honest, and then some sort of jealousy can come into play,
yeah.
unintentional sometimes. Because sometimes,
Unintentional.
but it again, open communication. Everyone is willing to get that honesty. I feel like as a friend, some of us are plant moms. I'm not. I'm not sure if you are, but
No, I'm not.
you got to water your garden in order for your crops to grow. And I think
Yeah.
that's the same with how it should be when it comes to friendships. You water me, I water you, because we can't be pouring from empty cups overall.
The thing about it is, what I found is that a lot of times we are pouring into, or you may be that person that's pouring into everybody's cup, but nobody really pours into your cup.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of times when you get into your 30s, like even, and this is things that I wish someone told me when I was younger. There is
Mm.
truly levels to friendships. You know what I mean? And in our first podcast, I think I said that in the first podcast that I was on, when we were speaking about friendships, and I didn't. Oh my gosh, I really wish someone told me that there were levels to friendships. Because
Uh,
sometimes you think that you are putting in all of this energy and you're pouring into a cup, but that person or those individuals have never in their lifetime poured into your cup. Yes,
mhm.
they may have done some small little things that's manipulative to make you think that they're pouring into your cup. But a lot of times people are not really pouring into your cup, and that's where I think sometimes, you know, you being an intentional friend or having an intentional friendships, it's really based on the level of friends that you have around you. And of course, each level is going to be a different intention. Sometimes we have work colleagues that becomes our friends. Are we truly going to tell them literally, every single thing? Yeah, we bond on a specific type of environment.
Right.
Whereas you and I will bond on another, like we're friends. So even when you spoke about like saying people are your acquaintances, I had to get used to saying, hey, this person is really just my acquaintance. They're not really my friend like that. And I feel no way about it. I think we do use friends or this person is my friend very loosely.
Because it's easy to say.
Yeah, because it is the easiest thing to say, but it is also easy to say, hey, this person is my acquaintance. We hang out a lot, but if I'm gonna go to the hospital, if my foot is broken or sprained, more than likely they may not know because they're not the first person that would be for me to tell. So I'm saying that to say, when we speak about intentional friendships, yes, it's nice to be, I'm guessing we could say intentional friendships is really for that genuine, those friends that are who we want to be lifetime friends. Because I think I went on a rant and spoke about other types of friendships, but now that we're having this conversation, I'm thinking intentional friendships really is the people that you want to be your lifetime friends forever.
And I get that. But I want to ask, because we're going to come to the type of friend, but I do want to ask, how how do you know? And I ask you this because I know you be knowing. Like, how do you know when you've outgrown a friendship? Because one thing about me, I will know that the answer could be there plain as day on a big billboard telling me, Tanya, you've outgrown this friend. It's time to move on. You've outgrown this relationship, whatever it is. And for
Hmm.
some reason, I'm just still stuck here trying to people please, trying to make it work when I know good and damn well that
It ain't
it's
working.
I've outgrown it. Like when I talk about, the friend that was, we weren't talking as often because they were
Hmm.
evolving on these different, that was a different change in the relationship. It just, I had to
Hmm.
understand that this is where this person is, this is where I am. But how do you know? How does one know, for those listening, that they've outgrown a friendship?
I think you've outgrown a friendship if your goals and your morals don't align.
Mm.
I think you would know you've outgrown a friendship if there's, I'm trying to find the best words to explain it, but I think when I think as a person we all know when we do not want to deal with this, we don't want to have this friendship anymore.
Mm.
And I think a lot of times we don't want to end the friendship or put a pause on the friendship or distance the friendship because we have history with the people that we have
Mm.
outgrown, or if they would have outgrown us. And so a lot of times, very similar to relationships, we hold on and we latch on to the toxicity of a friendship. You've outgrown someone if your goals are no longer, let's say, I love to party and have a good time, right? But I'm going to go to the extreme
Mm.
here. You may outgrow a friend if you've decided to change your life, if you've decided to look at life in a particular way, and that friend does not come on that journey with you. Now that friend is not that friend's journey, but if that friend is not on a similar journey to yours, you guys will always clash because now your hobbies are not the same, the things that you're interested in is not the same. And this is, I'm going very extreme
Mm.
here, and it does happen. There is nothing that brings you guys together that you love to do together anymore. And that in itself to me is an automatic, I have now outgrown this friendship. And you find that a lot with childhood friends or high school friends or even college friends. So you would find that you are holding on for dear life onto something that no longer works, no longer pleases you, no longer
Mm.
satisfies you. If you're in an argument with the person and you guys don't mend the relationship, it doesn't bother you, honey, you have outgrown that friend. And it doesn't necessarily have to come, it's not negative or positive. I think a lot of times when people put, oh, I've outgrown someone, like, oh, I've outgrown that person, I'm done. No. it's positive for you, and it also may be positive for that friend as well, because you guys just don't have anything in common anymore, and that's okay, because you're now adults, you're now in your adulting phase of life, and you didn't know that you would be here, but you're just new people, both on both sides.
No, I agree. I agree
Yeah.
because I think for me, when I realized that I outgrew a friend, when I just realized that I was just pouring everything. I was pouring from an empty cup. The cup was draining. The cup was just dry. There was just nothing even. There was nothing to pour, and like you said, there was nothing in common to talk about because once it always felt like a one sided relationship in the sense where one, they're just calling when if they would ask you how are you doing and you're ready to give the answers to how you're doing, they would brush off what you're saying and then they make things about themselves. That's to me, that's a pet peeve of mine, and that's how I realized that I outgrew a particular friend as well because
Mhm.
it was always about that. I was the strong friend for this person, and the moment I may have had a vulnerable time, you couldn't even step up, to
Yeah.
show yourself. You made a situation again about yourself. So I
Yeah.
think that's also when you realize that this person, you keep pouring into a person, but this person cannot even do the bare
Minimum. That
minimum.
is very true now. That is very true. And I think that's another thing. You can't have, and when you get older is when you realize these things. Like, no one told us these things, right? So when you get older, you
Mm-hmm.
realize that, hey, I can't be pouring in. And I learned this at a late stage as well. But you're pouring all of this water into someone's cup, but that it's not being reciprocated from the other way around. And it leaves those people very entitled to you. Their
Yes.
access to you, they think, oh, I need to be able to access you at any point in time. And I've admitted to, you have now spoiled this person into thinking that you are their lapdog and lanky, that whenever it is that they need you, you must be available. And I think you outgrow friendships like that because after a while, or we hope, and I think it's the hope of whomever, that you grow up. And when you start growing up and you start realizing, why am I pouring into this? This is not beneficial for me at any point in my life. I ask you how you're
Mm-hmm.
doing, and then you're like, you ask me, hey, I'm okay. But but I've just listed to you what I've been going through, and there's at no point you've acknowledged any of the things in the list that I would have been going through. And that shows that should show you as an individual, like, listen, I don't need this person, because you have someone in your life now that you may not take as a close friend like that, that you can actually pour. They pour into you and you pour into them. And when you
It's
start
true.
cultivating those type of relationships, you start realizing that the relationships that you thought, or the friendship that you thought was the best, I've known this person all my life. No, it's actually not. It's been one sided all your life. You know?
Yeah, I agree. I really do agree, and it takes real growth to essentially realize that. Because, like I
Yeah.
say, for me, I'll realize something, but again, holding on to some sort of hope or what I found I did in the past is that I would test that person. Like I would just show like a little, I'll put out like a little
Tester.
breadcrumbs as they'll call it, a little test to see what they would do, and they always prove me right.
Mm-hmm.
When I say, that it's a one way friendship.
Yeah, you were wasting your time, honey. You already knew. You already knew.
Yes, but for some reason, again, in my twisted mind, and that idea of holding on to a little bit of hope is just to see, what, maybe this person was going through something in their life.
Okay.
Because then you realize the person was going through something, so they needed you.
Yeah.
But what about the moments when you needed them? And like you say, you have people in your life who you may have just met recently compared to the other friend,
Mm-hmm.
and you have some sort of reservation when this particular new person is being intentional with you. They're showing up for
Yeah.
you in ways you're wanting this old friend to
Yeah.
do, but for some, because we know this friend longer, we keep trying to be reserved when it comes to that person, and then eventually you'll come to understand that this person been there all the time, and then obviously you foster and cultivate
Yeah.
that relationship with them. But I want to talk about your favorite thing, because one of the things that you do, the last time you were on the podcast, you talk about the friend categories and having them on a different level, and that's something that I kept in my toolbox. Anytime anyone comes to me about anything with friendship, you know what? I just hear a little voice in my ear, and I say, you know what? You got to put these friends into
Mm-hmm.
categories and X, Y, Z. So, what types of friends should we have? Like, I know for you, you know, you'll say we can have a friend that we know this is the party friend, and it doesn't go beyond any party. We have the friend that maybe we're going to grieve with, friend to talk business with, like, you know, like friends to just grow and build. So, what are some of the types of friends that we should have when we're talking about intentional friendships now going forward?
To be
How do we categorize our
To
friends?
be honest, I don't have a lot of friends, so I feel like my friend circle is very, very small. And I'm not telling, if you're someone that have different groups of friends, kudos to you. That's wonderful. I think having girlfriends or having friends in your life, I think it's very important. People that don't have friends, I be like kind of looking at you guys kind of sideways, to be honest, because I think it's very important that there should be at least one or two people that you have in your life that are not family, or they are as close to you as family that you can go to. So there are different types of friends, in my opinion. I did say this in the last podcast. I think there's people that you party with. Most of the times, not because you're partying and hanging out with people and drinking alcohol with them mean that you are friends with them. I also
Mm-hmm.
feel like they are friends who are having older friends. I think it's very important that as a young person that you have a group of older friends per se. You know, you're not gonna go party with them. They're not your party friends. They're your friends who like more so like mentor.
Mm-hmm.
They will give you advice based on like their life situation. I think it's very, very important to have older friends. You may also have friends that there may be one or two friends that if you're really going through a tough time and you're gonna get that honest guidance, or that honest let's say that honest chat. If you're looking for someone for that honest chat, I think that you should have a group of friends, or even one or two just friends that you go to listen, and you are not afraid to be judged. It's very important that in any friendship that you have, that no one is really judging you, or you don't have people who are very judgmental. The people need to be open. To me, this is just me. I could be wrong, but I think it's very important to categorize your friends, because a lot of times I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I've had a lot of subscribers tell me you need to do a topic on friendship. I have no friends." And when they say that, I'm just like, so what are you doing wrong?
Yes,
Like
yes.
honestly, and there are times where subscribers would send me long messages and like they're explaining the situation. And I'm like, but these people are your party friends. These people are your
Yeah.
friends. You know what I mean? These people are people who, when you want to go to an event or party, you party with
Hit them
them.
up.
But based on what you're saying to me about them, they're not people that you should confide in if you have something that's like, if something is really wrong with you, that you should really confide in them. So those are some of the friends that I would definitely recommend, that you categorize your friends in that way. And guys, in all honesty, you see through people. I think a lot of times we just choose to want to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And I also had to learn that the hard way. And when you see through something, if there is a red flag that one time, you should make note of it. It doesn't mean that you're not gonna be cool with the person, but you should make note of something. Let's say someone disrespected you in a particular way. You should be making notes. We out here making red flags about men, but we also need to
Mm-hmm.
make red flags about our friendships and the people that we are actually around. Because sometimes there is small things that adds up and shows you, oh, this person is not really my friend. I can go and hang out with them. We have a good time having drinks, but this person will go and tell another person my business, point blank, period. And when they do that, we get all mad and sad and we want to cry. No, this person have diarrhea at the mouth. This person is not the person that you want to really confide in. You know what I mean? So I think it's very important to have different levels of friends. And I had to learn that the hard way, actually. I truly did.
Yeah. it's accepting that, because I think at one point earlier on for me it was accepting that these are just the friends that are, as you would say, I have to put in a particular category. You know, you have to move accordingly. It's really no hard feeling. It's just understanding that, acknowledging and accepting, because that be my issue. Acknowledging the fact that this is what it is, and then accepting it.
Yeah.
Just understanding can be cool, but you're not gonna know my nitty gritty business.
Business.
You know, I might be, or I'm going to share with you what I choose to share with you that I know is not going to impact me, or whatever thing. If you want to send that negative energy, because sometimes some friends that we have, quote unquote friends,
Mm-hmm.
their energy is not
The
right,
energy's off.
and
You
yeah,
can feel it from a mile away. You can sense it from a mile away.
you sense that energy, you're supposed to know, okay, I'm not supposed to tell this person anything. Or like you say, when the red flags, if you're sharing a joyous occasion or joyous moment in your life, and that friend, just pay attention to the backhanded
Yes,
compliments.
and the compliments where they're like, "Oh, I'm just joking." No, you are not just joking. You just jabbed me and basically said that I look fat and my belly big. Like
Yeah,
it wasn't funny, and it's not funny, especially if you know that I'm having a hard time with like my weight loss or something. You know what I mean? They are doing it
yeah.
because they want to jab you. It's not coming from a funny place. It's not funny. You know?
Attention to those jokes, because you know, if you are my friend, you should know how I feel about. You should know my insecurities.
Exactly. Exactly.
I think that's a lesson that I've had to learn, is just accepting the fact that, you know what, these are friends that you're gonna put in this category. So sometimes even if they say something that would essentially offend you, I'm not gonna even waste my time being offended, because I already know what to expect from you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In that regards, but then also you don't want to have these friends around for too long. Whether you put them in certain categories, they can be on the really, really bare minimum list of
Yeah,
the
they could just
categories.
be acquaintances, to be honest. And to be honest, I wouldn't recommend being around people like that. Like my friend is supposed to tell me I'm beautiful, and I'm supposed to tell my friend that she's beautiful or or he's handsome. You know what I mean? It's
Mm,
very important for you. If my friend should gas me up, you know, if
you gas me up.
gas me up, baby, gas me up. That's what they be saying. But your friend should gas you up. You know what I mean? And your friend should want the best for you. And if you have friends, you realize that they don't really want the best for you, then you kind of have to ask yourself a question. And again, a lot of times we know, we see, we feel the energy, but we choose to ignore it because one, we might love friend. I've gotten that. I've
Mm,
gotten people to be like, oh, you love friend. You might love friend. You might feel like you don't have nobody else, so you need to be friends with these people,
mhm.
or you may not want to be alone, you know, you may not want to be judged. You may be afraid because, again, these are people who you've been around for a very long time. And so, trying to get new friends or get into a new group, you might find, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to stick with these people. But no, it Shanquella Robinson should that her story should
Yeah.
be a testimony for, you know, be careful with people.
Looking at these red flags, and
Yeah.
not trying to fit in or be in a particular circle, because many times we try to be in a particular circle for the sake of, I mean, I'll use the word clout. I don't know if that's what it
Mhm.
is, but we want to be perceived in a particular way,
Mhm.
when it's just not authentic to who you are as a person, and that to me requires a lot of work. Because let me tell you, the times when I've had to be fake to fit in, I'm just like, well, as Laurie Harvey would say, you're the prize. Like at this point, people should be down to be your. I mean, I'm just saying, like, why am I jeopardizing who I am, my character, essentially,
Mhm.
so I can fit in, and then you're in that quote unquote clique, very uncomfortable because it's not who you are, and then you're having to lie, and then when you lie one time, you got to maintain the lie the next time. And it just becomes, to me, it's just too much energy, and I'm a tired girl. I can't, I can't keep up with
Well, I
that.
don't live my life like that. I don't think I've ever lived my life like that. I think I've had a situation where I used to hang out with a friends. Because of course the
Uh,
friend is always with their friends, but the friend is my friend.
right.
And the energy from the group was not that the group, you know, they were not really my personality is, yeah, they're gonna like me or you're not. Okay, guys. So it's very extreme. It's, yeah, you're either gonna like me. I don't think there's no middle gray area between my personality because I'm a straight shooter. And So you're either gonna like me or you're not gonna like me. And I don't think they really liked me. And I don't know if it was me personally or if it just, sometimes people, your spirit don't take with everybody. And I had to tell
Mm-hmm.
myself, I don't want to be around this. And I literally just dropped out from it because I'm just like, I don't really care. But unlike Tanya is a little bit nicer and sweeter and in that, you kind of still want to see, you still want to give it a try. But
Right.
sometimes we already know, we can feel the energy. You can feel when you walk into the room, it's weird. You can feel it. You can feel it. Don't
You
ignore the
know.
signs. I'm not telling you to be delusional and think that, oh, everybody jealous of you, and no. You really have to get in tune with energy and really pick up on energy. And again, like Tanya was saying, if you see any red flags.
Yeah, and get that spirit of discernment when it comes to, again, people's energy, people's vibe. Because to me, I'm an energy person. The energy never lies. Like the energy, and follow your gut, because that's something that I have struggled with. No, you can't. If my gut tell me something, I am sticking beside my gut, and most times she never fail me.
Yeah,
So you definitely want to make sure that you know who you are. And I think when it comes to cultivating friendships in a way that you want to have for a lifetime, you have to again be honest with yourself, but be able to know your life's purpose or who you are as a person. Because if you don't know who you are, you're gonna be flip floppy,
you're gonna
back and forth trying to morph yourself into something that you're not.
Yeah. And us speaking here, don't be around people who will make you feel like you need to be a different person.
Uh-huh.
That's very, very important because if I have to change if I have bad ways, then obviously, I'm a work in progress. I would need to change that for myself. But don't hang around people who make you feel that, oh, you need to change who you are to the core to be able to gel into a specific group of friends. It's not worth, and trust me, you're gonna waste time trying to gel. They are still not gonna truly be your friends because they're gonna always kind of side eye you, give you that
Mm-hmm.
bombastic side eye kind of thing. And then you're gonna lose yourself. And the goal in life, to me, one of the goals in life is to really find out who you are to the core because that's just very important. That's very, very important to find out who you are and the type of person you want to be to the core. So.
I think one of the things that you and I will talk about occasionally is setting the boundaries and keeping it. Because one thing about me in the past me guys, new me is that. Oh, kind of. I'll I'll set a boundary and I keep moving that boundary back. Like if you're familiar with the sports cricket, when you hit the ball to that boundary, that big rope around the field, that'll be like 4 runs. But sometimes they push it back depending on the size of the field, and it's just that I would set a boundary and I keep pushing that boundary back over and over and over. And then before you know it, I'm back in my old ways,
Mm-hmm.
back to my mental health deteriorating or
Mm-hmm.
my just well being because I'm back to this people pleasing or I'm not keeping these boundaries. So people are not respecting my boundaries or where I'm at in that present life. So how do we keep your boundaries when you feel like you don't even have enough time for your friends? Because again, we spoke about in the beginning, we're all evolving. Some of us have families. We're all doing different
Mm-hmm.
things. But how to keep boundaries when you feel like you don't have enough time for your friends, and I guess vice versa. So knowing that don't be mad at me, but this is what I got going on. Like how are we maintaining these boundaries?
To be honest, I keep my boundaries. So it's not about you. It's not about the person. I'm being frank here. It's not about the other. It's about you. If you have drawn boundaries and you're deciding to push those boundaries back, 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 and yes, guys, Tanya does that a lot. I don't. She does that a lot, but you have to stick with your boundaries because at the end of the day, you just spoke about your mental health, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you have to choose yourself first at all times. And that's very, very important. And I think that is the base to keeping your boundaries when it comes to friends. Now, when it comes to your friends, obviously you're gonna want to compromise. You're gonna want to push some of the boundaries. But I think it depends on what, because your friends should know that, oh, Michelle, I'm not intentionally ignoring you. or I haven't spoken to you for 2 weeks, or I haven't spoken to you for 3 months. It's not intentional. It's not malicious. It's not like I don't want to be your friend anymore. It's just that I'm really, really busy. But I think when you speak about boundaries and friendships, I think boundaries all lies on you. If it is that you have a friend that you constantly push those boundaries for, that person will after a while not respect you. And I think
Mm.
that's where things kind of dwindle into a weird situation, because you have these boundaries, you want to keep your boundaries. If it is that I call you and I'm like, Tanya, I need to talk to you, and the conversation is just for me to catch up with you, but you have to read for an exam the next day, or you're someone that wants to read for class the next day, you should be like, hey babes, I really would want to speak to you tonight, but I do have some reading to do. I can't. Point blank, period. Now, that friend, which if it's me or whomever that friend is, that friend should be like, okay, babes, bet, no problem. Talk to you tomorrow. You know what I mean? I also think it's the type of friends that you have around you as well. Because my friends do it to me all the time, and I do it to my friends all the time. Like, I would message one of my friends, and he'd be like, can't talk to you right now. You know how Antiguans are very rough, right? Caribbean people can be very, very rough. And he'd be like, can't talk to you right now. I'm not in the mood. And I would be like, okay, cool, babes. Whenever you're in the mood, just reach out to me.
You see, but for me, not to cut you off, but for me, and I realized that this is like again, this is new Tanya now, guys. But I remembered when I was that friend, I would be doing schoolwork, I'd be reading, I would be doing something that's important, not only for work but to me at the time. And someone would call me, and I would see the phone ringing, and I was just like, I know this person, the particular friend or friends that would call, they're just coming to dump on me. They're
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily concerned about Tanya's well being. The conversation is just going to be about them nagging or talking
Mm-hmm.
about their world's problems. The only one that have problems in the world, and it's like, at some point, you're the problem at this
Mm-hmm.
point. But anyway, I would be the one that would pause my reading, pause whatever I'm doing, telling myself, you know what, so it's going to be a 5 to 10 minute conversation.
Nope.
Knowing good and well, that's not going to be the case. And then before you know it, an hour went by, and then now the task that I was currently doing is either too late to do it, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the energy. Sometimes when people come and emotionally jump on you, it takes a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And so I would be that friend. I remember the first time I was doing we were talking about something, and the person just told me flat out, I don't want to talk about it anymore. And I never forget, I remember, I remember feeling some type of way, because it's like, wow, I say, wait, you don't want to talk to me about this. But I remembered in that moment too, after I took some breaths and realized, you know what, people have their boundaries. So why should I have no choice but to respect that
Mm-hmm.
boundary. So why am I over here keep pushing my boundary back? And I think that was a lesson in that moment, realizing that I had no need to be upset of in my feelings, because that was that person's boundary. And as we're growing and we're learning our friends and the different type of
Mm-hmm.
relationships, we know what to accept. We know, as you said, if the person mean any harm or not. It's just like, no, I'm not in the mood. I can't talk right now, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You're taking on my energy. I feel like if it's something overly important, one thing I'll probably do is, is it important? Like if I text you, you'll ask me, I'm at work, is
Yeah.
everything okay? And then if it's like a basic, I'm just checking in, then we'll talk to each other
Yeah.
later. So I guess it depends on the level of importance a conversation may need at that time. And even then, even if it's important, a person has the right to say, I cannot talk right now, regardless,
Yeah.
still.
Because sometimes we're not mentally available for you to
Yeah.
dump. You know what I mean? And I think you and I had a conversation like this off of your podcast. I think it was you and I where, we were just speaking about, sometimes we dump on each other, but sometimes we're not emotionally available. And your friend who would have said, I don't want to talk about this right now, she was probably not emotionally available to hear this a second or third or fourth or fifth time. Because sometimes, a lot
Right.
of times, what's going on in my friend's life, it is going to affect me, especially if I love
Mm-hmm.
that person and I want good for that person. And sometimes it gets so frustrating because you're like, oh my gosh, why is this person continuously doing this? Why are they going back all the time to a particular
Yeah.
situation? But it's important to know your friend. My friends know if they tell me I can't talk right now, I don't want to talk about this right now, they know that I don't really care about it. A lot of people would take that personally, right?
Yeah.
So if I call Tanya, I think I've messaged Tanya before, and Tanya is like, hey, I can't really talk to you right now. I'm not in the mood. I think we've had that conversation before.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, babes, we'll talk to you later or talk to you when you're ready or whatever. And maybe a week or
Mhm.
two, or I'll leave a whole month to pass. And then we would have the conversation. Because, of course, the conversation wasn't something that, it was so serious that I needed to speak to you now for now. And we have to be aware of our friends as well and their situations. And even if it's not in depth, but at least if my friend says she's not in the mood to talk to me, she's truly not in the mood to talk to me. Because all my friends know when we talk, it's more than an hour. Like, I
Okay.
will never.
That is
It's not gonna be 5 minutes unless it's like, hey, meet me somewhere.
yeah.
It's not like that. So it happens, but I think it's the type of friendship. I think it's the type
Mm-hmm.
of friendship and that the how that friendship is. If I'm not in the mood, I'm honest. I'm honest enough to tell you, and my friends are honest enough to tell me, and I don't take it personal because it's not about me. It's about them.
And sometimes for me, I could not be in the mood. It's not even, I'm in a bad mood. It's just that I'm watching a TV show. I don't want to be disturbed at this point in time. Like sometimes
And
it
that's
really
fine.
that.
No, and that is
It's
quite
like
fine.
I am here binge watching this. I'm in the zone.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
You know, I think sometimes when we think when our friends say that we ready to think it's something negative, it's like no, nothing is wrong. She's just home. She's chilling, listening to her music. Like I'll be having my concerts. Like to talk to you is taking me from listening to my music in the zone that I'm in.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
But I do want to. What's your take and how is friendship in your 30s different than your 20s? I know we've spoken before about dating in your 30s and these different things. But how is a friendship in your 30s different than in your 20s?
Friendships in your 30s are it's kind of hard, but it's wonderful. For me,
Mm-hmm.
I cannot speak to other people. In your 20s, you're still young. You're still, to be your early 20s, to be exact. You're still young. You still want to be friends with everybody, or you want to be cool with everybody. You don't have the type of responsibilities that you would have when you hit your late 20s going into your 30s. I'm going to speak about my friendships in my late 30s. It just depends on my girlfriend or my girlfriends. I think that my friendships are better in my 30s because there is more honest communication in my 30s. I feel like the friends that I have now they're stuck with me forever. But I'm not afraid to lose. If I have to lose them, then I will lose them. I don't have that much friends in my 30s now, and I'm very kind of sometimes I'm happy about it, sometimes I'm not, to be honest, because I live in Trinidad and none of my friends live in the same country with me. So that kind of makes it difficult in that we are in long distance friendships. And
Mm-hmm.
the amount of communication that I would have done with them in my 20s is not the same that I'm doing with them in my 30s. So it's sometimes hard, to be honest. And sometimes you just kind of want to have your friend there in person and hey, let's go for a drink or let's go to the movies or whatever the case may be. So that aspect of it is hard. I am in a long distance friendships, so it's more communication. But I think the people that I have in my life, I will not lie, we understand each other. We accept each other, we respect each other, and they know if they don't hear from me for a month that I'm busy. But
Yeah.
we don't have a my friendship in my 30s is great. In a short answer, my friendship in my 30s is great. We talk when we can. Some of my friends, I will talk on the phone with them as for hours, where I have other friends who they like to text, and I'm not a texter, so I be leaving you on red sometimes. Like, what are you talking about? I can't answer. It's too much to answer. But honestly, I would say that the friends that I have in my 30s, I think they are gonna be my friend. I hope for them to be my friends forever, because I think I've cultivated a good little tribe around me, and I love that tribe. There is no expectation of calling every day and the extra stuff, the hassle and the hard type of it's not there. And I love that because we're all in different careers. We're all doing what we need to do. And we all understand it's not personal if we don't talk for 3 months or if we don't talk for 6 months. I know 6 months is a stretch, but it does happen sometimes. Time goes by so fast at times that you don't even realize like 6 months have passed and I haven't had a proper catch up with my friend.
Mhm.
So I would say that's kind of how my friendship in my 30s is going. It's hard to make friends in your 30s though.
I agree to an extent because in my 20s, I was still chasing and still buying friendships, still trying to fit in, still trying to be liked. And
Mm-hmm.
now, when you hear things about, oh, when you hit your 30s, life is going to be so different. And when you're younger, you're like, oh, yeah, right, give me a break.
Yeah,
But it really is
it's true.
when you get to the age of 30, it's like something just clicked in your brain without you even realizing.
Yes.
For certain things you're no longer going to do. And me, I can even say that, and because I tolerate a lot of
Mm-hmm.
nonsense over and over in the past. But when you get to your 30s, it's like, you have more things to live for.
Mm-hmm.
You realize that you are evolving. You are realizing who you are as a person. Because in your 20s, you're still feeling young. You're still figuring out
Mm-hmm.
life. We're still figuring out life in our 30s now, don't get me
Mm-hmm.
wrong. But it comes with a different level of
Maturity.
maturity, or it's I think friendship in my 30s now, I can be more honest. I
Yeah.
can have an open and honest
Conversation.
communication and not be not I mean, I'm already an overthinker in general, but I don't necessarily overthink now because I think the friendship circle, as you mentioned, that I'm cultivating or have cultivated, there are people that know me.
Yeah.
They like, no, okay, this is Tanya. I know this is you. What we're gonna get, and then there's categories. Even though you're in my circle, there's categories. There's gonna be one friend that I may text every
Yeah.
day. It's just simply,
Yeah.
or they may be a friend where I talk once every 2 months because again, we know each other. We're busy. Sometimes even a like or interaction to me in the social media is a form of checking in. Not necessarily the deep checking in that we do, but at least you know what, you're still alive.
Mm-hmm.
You're still here. I see you. Still, putting out your content. We're still interacting to an extent, and then that would be a brief conversation in itself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then when it's time to check in, it's checking in time. And I think for me, since I moved to this new state, I've had the privilege of making
Good friends, good people.
a friendship with a couple
Mm-hmm.
individuals, couple meaning exactly. Of course, some you keep a certain level, but when I think about my track record and
Mm-hmm.
the types of friends that I had,
Mm-hmm.
no, these friendships they come easy, just like the ones that I already had before that were genuine, that were I can consider my actual friends.
Mm-hmm.
It comes easy. If we don't talk every day, that's fine. Some with them, some of my coworkers, so you see them some days in the week,
Mm-hmm.
not every day, but at least sometime throughout the week, once or twice you're seeing them. But we, it's a level of commitment. We're getting older. Of course, dating in your 30s or getting into a friendship in your 30s,
Mm-hmm.
you're more focused on, oh my God, I know this friend from since I was in preschool or primary school. Sometimes you may feel some type of way about meeting a new friend, but if that new friend is essentially matching all your needs, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Why are we going to deny that? So I think in my 30s now, I'm just more intentional with what I say, with what I do, and I'm open to the idea of meeting new people because you just never know. Sometimes that saying where they say you can meet someone a week ago, a month ago, and they'll end up doing more for you than somebody that for 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
And that I think that can be the case sometimes when it comes to wanting to make friends in your 30s. It's not easy, I would
It's
say, because
very
where are you going to go
hard.
meet from? It's just like dating. Where are you going to meet a guy? Where are you going to meet a woman? Like, where are we going to meet these people? But when you do get that connection with someone, some randomly, could be in a parking lot, could be at your job, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is, you want to make sure that you cultivate that, you nurture that friendship because it's rare.
Yeah,
Essentially, it is
it
rare, and I
is.
think we have to think about even if it's a short, heart for a conversation, like I say, we're long distance friends. We're not talking every day,
Yeah.
but the times that we do, we're able to refill
Up.
each other's cup.
Yeah.
If something were to happen drastically, you're gonna come and encourage me. If you listen to a podcast episode, oh Tanya, I like what you're doing, X, Y, Z. I'm gonna be in the comments in the YouTube saying what I gotta
Thank
say. So like,
you.
I may not always come to you in WhatsApp to tell you, but there's moments when I do come.
Yeah.
But then I try to make sure that I am supporting what you're doing. I think that's what real friendships are. That if we're not talking every single day, we are showing up in other ways
Yeah.
so that we're here. and I'm seeing what you're doing. So I think that's what it is when it comes to
Friendship.
being friends and making friends in your 30s.
Let's,
It's
it's
challenging,
hard.
but it is also it's doable in my opinion. Because you want your friends to remember. I guess we can celebrate each other's achievements.
Yeah, and the,
It doesn't matter if big or small. We can create and share these moments.
yeah.
Some friends are gonna have children. We want to be able to can celebrate them.
Hmm.
We can attend a baby shower again because we're long distance. Maybe we can't make it, but we can send a gift.
Yeah. And the thing about it is you are very correct in what French intentional friendships. I think the last bit that you said kind of really speaks to the entire topic that we've been speaking about today, where we're speaking about intentional friendships. And it is really being intentional and putting purpose on that specific friendship. It's not putting strain or stress on the friendship, but it's really being happy for the friend. Being, if I can help you in any way, I should. If I can support you in any way, I should. Friendship should not be jealous. Friendship should not have jealousy in there. There's a lot of things, and I know sometimes jealousy is not intentional, but regardless of what, if you're doing awesome, I'm obviously going to do awesome because I'm around awesome energy. You're going to give me that push. So I think it's very important when we speak about intentional friendships that we speak about us and seeing how we are really doing a deep dive as to, am I truly a good friend? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the only way sometimes that friendships can even work. Where did I fall short in my friendship with this person? And if I am trying to be friends with you, but you're being on a high horse, not really trying to reciprocate that, then at some point there is no, you're obviously going to be like, well, this is a one-way street, and love is not a
Yeah.
one-way street, and friendship is love. So I think that last point that you made about that support and really being there for the friend when need be is what intentional friendships should look like.
No, I agree. And as we get ready to wrap up, I think one of the things I want to leave with is our intentional friendships. When we think about it, it should be easy. It shouldn't be difficult. It shouldn't be stressful. The only time I think it should be stressful is if one of us is going through something that's really dire, and it's like not necessarily a bad stress. I mean, stress is not good either, but it's warranted then. So I think that when we talk about intentional friendships, it should contribute to our well-being in ways that we may not even realize. Like, you're good for me when I talk to you. I leave the conversations feeling good. I can conquer the world, or just know that I have someone who understands me
Mhm.
in ways that I didn't expect. So I think when we think about having that intentional friendship, that should be a thing. Your friend should be good for your well-being.
Yeah,
And then, friends should also remind us that we are not alone in this journey. Because sometimes, again, the people who are like, oh, I don't have anything, I don't need any friends. We all need some
we
sort of
need some sort
companionship
of,
somehow.
yeah,
That's what that is. We're not alone in this journey. And when we're creating our circle, because we have the ability to create our friendship circle,
yeah,
we want to make sure that we're intentional. And like Michelle would have said, you want to make sure that you are asking, how can you be a better friend? Because I think that's a question that sometimes we don't often ask,
yeah. And we do need to be better. But before I go, what do you need from me?
I have some questions here. A little fun game thingy here. If you could have a friendship, I'm calling this the fun fact segment. I don't know.
Okay.
If you could have any friendship with a historical or any public figure or celebrity, who would it be and why?
If I could have a friendship with a historical person or a public figure, I know this is gonna sound cliche, but I'm not a celebrity fan type of person, like I like my celebrities, but I don't care for them that much. I would say Beyonce.
Oh
There is
gosh,
and
I was
and
gonna say
and
that.
and no, I'm saying that because she's a Virgo and I get along with Virgos. I get along with most signs, but I love her demeanor. I love how she treats her friends. I think there are a lot of things that we don't see off of socials. And I think that I would want to experience her type of friendship because she reminds me a little bit of one of my friends and myself, like a combination of us. So I would love to be friends with her. Guys, I'm not a stan, okay? I'm just a fan, okay?
You know, you're talking to the president
And
of
I
the
know I'm
Beehive right
talking to
now,
the
but
president of the Beehive, but no, the real reason is because of her demeanor in her interviews and her personality and her friendship with the people that she's really close with. And like I said, she gives
yeah,
off a vibe of one of my girlfriends and a little bit of a little bit of me. And I would love to experience if my assumption about her is correct by being her friend,
yeah.
obviously.
No, I agree. I agree. I was gonna pick her as well, and one of the reasons is that she's a Virgo too, and I have a lot of Virgos in my family. You're a Virgo, my sister's a Virgo, my
And
aunt's a
y'all
Virgo, my
can't do
dad. I
without
just,
us.
but I think I would want to be friends with her because when I think of her again, if you say her demeanor, she's loyal. You can see like if you
We're
the
Virgos,
people that
Tanya. I have to stop
been
you in your tracks right there. We're Virgos. We're loyal, okay?
she's loyal. She's had these friends from ever since back in Destiny's Child days. And you
Mm-hmm.
see even her manager is still people that would have started back in Destiny's Child. And
Mm-hmm.
she seems like the kind of person that gives people an opportunity. And
Mm-hmm.
that one thing that I really love about her is her work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that girl what it is, but her work ethic is just something. And I think, as a friend you can benefit from
Like
someone
that.
like that because you can get motivated because your friend should inspire you and motivate you. Like I said earlier, we should not be jealous.
Yeah.
We should be here inspiring and motivating each other.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons I would want to be. I mean, we're friends in my head. Don't get me wrong, but real life, if I had that would be she would be the one that I genuinely would want to be
Friends with.
friends with. Like, let me come to yours. Let me go to your little beehive back in your backyard. Let me go play with the kids. But
Mm-hmm.
and the last one is, like in the spirit of talking about intentional friendship, what's the unique skill or talent that one of your friend has that you admire, or maybe personality trait we can say that one of your friend has that you admire?
I think I have been able to meet friends that, God, thank you, non-judgmental.
Mm,
You can come as you are, and I think that most of my friends, I'm not gonna say all, but most of my friends, I get that energy from them. Now, I don't know if they be talking me behind the back and saying things about me, but the energy that I am comfortable going to them with anything, literally
mm,
anything. It could be my personality. I'm joking. No, but that's what it is. So one of my friends, she's this is it's a no judgment zone, and her advice I don't like at all, but it's honest,
mm.
and I really appreciate her, and she's always there for me even when I'm doing nonsense. And I
Right.
think that for me is the biggest thing from my friendship with her, and the biggest
Mm-hmm.
trait, or the one of the best traits that I love about her. I can be vulnerable with her, and I think it's important in friendships to be able to be vulnerable with your friends. If I can't be vulnerable
Yeah.
with you, to be honest, I do not consider you my friend, because friendship is love, and if I love you, I should be able to be vulnerable with you. And vulnerability is a big thing that a lot of us, we're not vulnerable with every and anybody. Some of us are too vulnerable with random people. But I think it's important that when I think that's it for me and her. So I would say all of that what I said,
Yeah.
yeah. I appreciate her and I love her for that.
I think for me also is the no judgment and the honesty. I may not like it all the time, but I know it's coming from a place of
Yeah.
love. It's not intention. There's no ill intent behind of what you're
Mhm.
saying. It's just that no matter what I say, I am crazy. I'm going to come with a crazy idea. I'm going to be impulsive because that's one thing about me. I'm going to be impulsive, but you're able to be honest and recenter me. So I
Mhm.
think that's a skill or being able to recenter me
Mhm.
and get me to see the picture. Because sometimes when I get in that crazy my mind start doing certain
Mhm.
things, the vision is not always clear, it can be blurry. So being able to be honest and recentering me back is what I can admire. Just being able to be calm and cool and collected, no matter what the situation is. So
Yeah.
that's right. Well, that's good. Well, thank you, Michelle, for joining me here in the tea tasting room.
Thank you for having me again. I hope I didn't chat off your ears.
I say it's a privilege to always have you here. If I can have it in every episode, I would. But I do hope this episode, for those of you listening, you were inspired by our conversation, or it even inspires you to reflect on your own friendships and even consider how you can make them more
Yeah.
intentional. Because we're not saying you got to go and make friends so that you can be intentional. The friends that you have now, you can, like Michelle would have mentioned, go back and do a self-reflection and see, am I being a good friend? And then you want to take it from
Yeah.
there by being intentional with what you
Yeah.
do. And I think we'd love to hear your thoughts, like your stories. If you have any questions about intentional friendship, like reach out to us on social media and I'll put it in there.
Yeah, let us know.
We get those questions answered. But before you go, let the people know what they can find you, Michelle.
So before I go, one last tip as well is that, as Tanya said, you can create the type of friendships you want with your existing friends. It's just for all of you to come to that kind of like growth journey. You can do it together.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? But with that being said, you guys can find me on Instagram at It's Officially Michelle with 1L. And you can find me on YouTube. Haven't been posting, but at Officially Michelle. Hopefully I'm back to posting soon. But those are the two platforms you can find me. If it is that you want to reach out to me, please don't be afraid to reach out to me on Instagram in my DMs. That's where I will answer you as fast as possible because it's more frequent on there. So those are the two social media platforms that you can find me. And if you are already if you're not subscribed to my channel, please head over and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 10K by the end of December. And on Instagram, you can follow me on Instagram. It's an okay little vibe over there sometimes. And if you feel like your personality fits my personality, then I think you should follow me on both platforms. So that's my last tidbit. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem, of course. And until next time, guys, I want you to remember this affirmation of the week. Say it, repeat it after me. Every connection you nurture adds a beautiful layer to your life. So that's the affirmation for this week. When you go about your day and your week until we're back here next week, just remember that every connection you nurture adds a beautiful layer to your life. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Tea with Tanya. If you like this episode, be sure to share it with a friend. Don't forget to follow on Instagram at Tea with Tanya Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the weekly Tea Talk newsletter. And of course, rate on Apple or Spotify and subscribe wherever you listen. See you next time. I love you for listening.